Welcome to Module 301, Lesson 2, Exercise Frequency and Progression. I'm Ayla.
I'm Emily, and we are your MyZone Master Trainers.
Frequency, which refers to how often your client is working out, how many times a day, how many days in a week, how many weeks in a month, much like duration and intensity, will depend heavily on your client's goals and, of course, their time constraints. Here again are the ACSM, the American College of Sports Medicine, recommendations. If your client is using moderate intensity cardiorespiratory exercise, blue and green zone, then they should be accumulating at least 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week for a total of 150 minutes in a week. If your client likes to use vigorous intensity cardiorespiratory training, yellow and red zones, then they will need to accumulate about 25 minutes a day 3 days of the week. Or they can use a combination of those two, a few days at moderate intensity, a fewer days at higher intensity. And that's actually what I like to recommend for my clients. You can encourage your clients to accumulate a few days of green on their activity calendar, a few days of yellow on their activity calendar as a way of meeting the minimum recommended guidelines, which again would be 1,300 MyZone effort points per month. So they're going to earn about 300 MEPs a week in order to get 1,300 a month, and they can do that in as little as 10 minutes at a time.
So let's talk about how we can progress and also track progress using MyZone. In terms of progressing our clients with cardiorespiratory exercise, we know that we can increase either the intensity, the duration, or the frequency of exercise, but we probably should only do one variable at a time in terms of increasing it. And we should increase it by no more than 10% as a general rule. So one variable at a time, no more than 10%. We can track progression using VO2, or maximal oxygen uptake, as well as an increased tolerance to the intensity and duration of exercise. When we talk about using MyZone, what can we look for in terms of heart rate? The first thing is resting heart rate. So resting heart rate, as we've already described, should decrease as your client becomes more and more fit and as their parasympathetic nervous system is more active. We can expect to see that there will be a decrease of about 5 to 10 beats per minute every 4 to 8 weeks or so with regular cardiorespiratory training.
What's cool is that over time, a workload that might have originally gotten your client to an 8 or a 9 on the rate of perceived exertion scale might become a 5 or a 6. For example, if your client was running at 6 miles an hour on the treadmill at a 0.5% incline and they told you they reported an 8 or a 9 on the rate of perceived exertion scale, over the next several months they might only report a 5 or a 6 as there's a training effect that takes place.
You can also track heart rate recovery, and we've gone through an assessment on this already, so we know how to track it over time. But what you should see over time with a heart rate recovery assessment is that there will be a faster heart rate response once you take away the stimulus of exercise. So your heart rate will decrease faster after you've done a higher intensity bout of exercise. That is due to your heart's increased efficiency and ability to adapt to the stimulus that's placed on it. Remember that you can do any of the assessments that we've mentioned every 6 to 8 weeks or so. That includes the heart rate recovery assessment, the submaximal heart rate assessment, as well as the resting heart rate assessment.
Thank you for joining us for Module 301, Lesson 2.